when I think of a leader, I think of somebody who is charismatic.
Think of somebody who's authentic, trustworthy.
Yeah, I think for me, I think of what most of us envision when we think of a coach. That there's somebody who has the ability to connect with people and to draw out the best in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think of a leader as somebody that I want to follow.
Yeah.
And that would be right because I get along well with them. They've got, like our personalities. They may not be the same personality. But they mesh, right? Like we get along. We're not butting heads every single time we talk. I think that.
Well, and I may be jumping further ahead than you want to, but I also think that when I think of someone who's a successful leader, I think of someone who has the ability to connect with a lot of different people. You know what I mean? Not just, hey, this is the way I do it and line up behind me, but somebody who has the ability to shape themselves to the people that are on their team.
Not changing who they are, but being able to communicate and build that relationship with a whole bunch of different people, not just people who are in the same mindset. Yes, keep with that.
So I know the two of you know that the way we define leadership is influence, right? We say if you can influence somebody, then you are leading that person. It doesn't matter your role in the organization. It doesn't matter if you're a receptionist or the general manager or a title clerk. If you can influence people in your direction, then you are a leader, right? And so all of these characteristics, I think, are what help build that influence. When we go through the 360-degree leader, we're going to talk about how to build our influence at different levels, right? So how I build my influence with my supervisor is different than how I build my influence with my peers, and that's different than how I build my influence with people that may look up to me. I mean, that could be people that report to you at your office. That could be your children. That could be people that just look up to you, right? Like, how do you build your influence with them? And as we build our influence, it all, I think, breaks down to two simple ways to do it, and that is build a relationship, right? Build relationships, and then add value.
Surely our ability to influence rests largely on how much someone trusts us or doesn't. Our intentions, right? I mean, in each of those relationships, while maybe our function in the relationship is different, our intentions are critical in each.
I think that you hit on that point of trust. They have to trust you for you to have any kind of influence with them. And there's ways that you can build that trust, and you can very easily lose that too by not following through with what you say you're going to do. Let's say that.
But very early on, we start, really before a new leader even has a chance to break promises, which is a good way to break trust. Before that opportunity even comes, we begin to either start trusting someone or not.
Yeah.
And just this past week, I got to hear several people offer their opinion of a brand new general manager in an organization, and they were talking about just the good feeling they had about the person, and in that case you might find it interesting, most of it boiled down to just them saying the person seemed comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
There was an authenticity, I mean, they didn't seem like they were trying to be someone or impress people, but just were comfortable with who they are, and that caused people to go, I think I can trust the person. But I think a part of integrity is authenticity. And I do think that you get some feel for that, as you said, outwardly, because let's face it, there's people that are guarded but can still be trustworthy, right? But it makes it harder for us to tell. And there are people that are very authentic, I would even say vulnerable, right? That you go, wow, this person seems to have nothing to hide. They seem very comfortable with who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, does that speak to integrity?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think so too. Yeah, I think that you can tell that right off. Not always. Some people are really good at hiding it, but there's a feeling that you get when you meet someone like, oh, I can trust this person or I can't. And for me at least, it's usually not wrong. I don't trust this person. I can't figure out why I don't trust them, but it usually shows itself at a later point.
Isn't it interesting that how that shiftiness just shows itself first thing, the first things that come out of their mouth, sometimes you're like, I'm like, no, I'm not, I can't I can't buy anything else that's coming out after this, after you said that one thing.
Yes. And yet I want to be careful, because I don't want anyone to misunderstand what we're saying. It is also true that sometimes, because of someone's own experience, let's say they have a hard time trusting others.
Yeah.
And so they might be of high integrity, but have a hard time trusting others, and it makes them less likely to be authentic early.
Yeah.
That's why I said, I think you can be not easily authentic and still be trustworthy. But you all agree that if someone is authentic and open and it's easy to see who they really are, it's easier to trust them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to talk a little bit. I know that the three of us have reviewed it and we know we're familiar with the 5 levels of leadership. But I know a lot of people aren't familiar with the 5 levels of leadership. And I know the first time I was introduced to it and I saw it and read through it, it made so much sense to me. And so let's talk about that just a little bit. But as it pertains to the 5 levels of leadership, the first level of the 5 levels of leadership is called the position level. And what the position level gives you is basically, I can tell you what to do, and you have to listen to me because somewhere on an org chart, somewhere, my name is above your name, right? That's the position level bottom line. So if somebody doesn't necessarily follow you because they like you, they don't follow you because they believe in what you have to say or what you can do. They literally follow you because your name is above theirs on the org chart. And if you have people on your team that say, well, when you ask them to do something, that say, well, that's not my job, then chances are you're that position level with that person. It is okay to start at the position level on the 5 levels of leadership. It is okay to earn your first badge by being promoted to a level where now you have people that are reporting to, and that is an awesome way to start your leadership journey, right? Getting promoted, now you're managing some people. But it is not okay to stay at that permission level. If you get promoted to a role, you have people reporting to you, and you decide, now I'm in charge of people, and so now I'm this leader, and you have to do what I tell you to do, you're not going to go very far, and you're not going to help your team go very far either.
No, you're gonna regret having stayed there that long, right? I mean, but I think it's not only okay to start out at a positional level, it's quite natural in many ways. If we think of it, sometimes I think it's easier to think about outside of business or a work environment. If we were talking about all parents are leaders, right?
Yeah. Yep.
They start out with a position, they have a child, and they're the parent, and with a 2-year-old, it may be okay that we're going to do it a certain way because I said so. That may be what's necessary to keep them alive, as a matter of fact.
It definitely is.
You can't play in the street because I said so, right? If you try to parent a teenager that way,
it's going to be a little different.
You're not going to have much influence. At that point, they're going to want to follow you, right? They're going to need to want to follow you.
Yeah.
in order for you to be able to help them navigate the tougher decisions that are involved in a teenager's life. And you could even take that on to the next level of what about when they are a parent?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that thinking about it in other terms sometimes makes it make more sense or be more natural in our work life.
Yeah, and I think even like with friendships too, it's the same way. You might,
I agree, and I think it's super important that this conversation doesn't stay at just a work level, right? Because it really applies to all facets of our life, inside of work and outside of work. And so that brings us to our second level. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No.
So then that brings us up to level 2, which is the.
I was just trying to be super friendly, guys.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Which is the permission level. And so, TC, to your point, when your kids become teenagers, you want them to give you that permission to lead them, which means we have to build those relationships with them, right? So you see the difference. We've all seen the difference between a bad parent-teenager relationship and a good parent-teenager relationship, and what that looks like for how that child acts. You know what I mean? Somebody that feels like they can come to their parents and talk to them about what's going on in their life, as opposed to somebody who feels like every time they do or say something, their parent just yells at them. And so, so that permission level, also in the workplace, right? It is the level where we start building relationships with people. And I said earlier that as we build this influence with people, part of that is building relationships. And so, as you start at that position level, and then you start to get to know the people that you're working with, and you start to make them realize that, hey, I don't only like you for what you can do for me, but I care about you as a person, then that turns into that second level, that permission level.
You said it well, that it's, we know that John Maxwell talks over and over about, hey, this is where it's all about connection, right? That people start following you because they want to, because they've decided that they can trust your motives, and that they know that to some level you are about them and their success, and not just how that person can contribute to yours. And so I think that this fundamental transition in the relationship is really critical. It's easy to try to skip past, right? But it's something that will always limit where, that relationship can go.
I think if you skip past it, like you're building the foundation of the relationship with that person as well as your leadership at that point. And so if you skip it, your foundation will crumble, and the people around you, if you haven't built on communicating with them, on building a relationship with them in order to get that permission from them, it's not going to go very far at all.
Yeah, I was meeting this past week with a friend of mine who does consulting, helping college coaches, with their coaching skills. And he was showing me a video that he's put together, and in it he was talking about, that they believe that players play much harder for coaches that they know care about them. And so, he was talking about that this was as important or more important than X and O's and that kind of thing. And so when you said about the foundation that everything rests on, yeah, I think that sometimes John Maxwell and others focus on the lowest level of critical truth. At this level, we're told that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. But I think maybe it's more important that as leaders we focus on the fact that people will care greatly how much you know or what you know when they know how much you care. In other words, my ability from this point forward to help this person become the very best version of themselves will rest on how broad have I built that base of them trusting and knowing that I care about them.
And to be fair, you don't have to be best friends with somebody to make sure they know that you care about them and you are, you have their back and you're supporting them. So then that takes us to level 3 of the 5 levels, and level 3 is the production level. And what the production level says is that now people follow you because they see that you produce. They see that you are a good worker and that you produce results when you work, right? And so they want to be a part of that.
They want to, you model the behavior you want to see out of them too. I think that if you have somebody above you who's,
Comes in late every day.
Comes in late, it leaves early, is constantly, not doing their job, it makes it very difficult to want to continue to follow them.
Yeah.
For sure. So you model the behavior you would want to see. If you are working hard, and people will see that and want to work hard to do it. And I think I was recently having a conversation with one of my employees about how he had lost his desire to work hard because it had never been modeled to him, and he was almost frowned upon to work as hard. Why bother trying anymore? That's not the case since he's been here. But at previous jobs, and so it's just interesting because it's foreign to me of not working hard. I don't understand that, but I get how you can get discouraged at places who aren't seeing that and rewarding it.
And eventually you lose those people because they want to go somewhere where their work is recognized and where they can move forward because they're hard workers and because they do a good job.
Yeah, and let's face it, credibility matters.
Mm-hmm.
It matters that people can trust us, but it also matters that we are credible in what we're talking about, right? Because this isn't the abstract world. we all have roles of some sort, and people that are following us as a part of a team in regards to that specific work. And so I know that both of you guys know that I began in the automotive industry in accounting. And as a controller, I was able to help several people become controllers, not because I knew more than everybody else or that I was a better person than everybody else. We've already talked about our person and our intentions and the fact that we actually have to care about people. Then you also have to be able to teach them something.
So then that takes us to level 4, which is the people development. And my favorite thing. Hello, women of Hudson. But seriously, it is the most important level, I believe, because building relationships and building being able to produce with the people around you, that's one thing. But being able to reproduce yourself, duplicate, or multiply, multiply yourself. We've all been there where we're like, I wish there were 3 of me. I can't do this. There's not enough time in the day. Well, what if there was 3?
Actually, I mostly thought I wish there were 3 of you.
Well, TC, I'm a byproduct of you and the knowledge that you shared with me. But seriously, right? We've all been there. We've all been like, oh, if there were more of me, there's not enough time or energy or whatever to get this done. And that's why one of the reasons why the people development level, I think, is so important, right? What you're doing is you are grooming somebody to take your place. You're teaching them all of the things that you can teach them, and you're giving them every single opportunity that you can to develop them into being a better, stronger person not towards your goals for them, but towards their goals for themselves. Yep. So partly, relationships come in here where I need to know what it is that you need, right? What is it that you want in life? What is it that you need? You've got to be able to have these conversations and or see, with your own eyes where these person's strengths lie, what it is they want to achieve in life. And that comes through conversations and through, working beside them. And then you make it your goal to boost them up and support them and give them opportunities and resources as much as possible.
Yeah, and so I would just say, I know that there's lots of leaders of different departments involved in the Women of Hudson, and so the challenges and the task and the areas that you lead are very different, and yet I think that one cautionary tale to every leader, though, that I would say is that I think we don't consider often enough. I was just listening to you, Faith, and thinking how important the character of the people that you choose to invest yourself in becomes.
Mm-hmm.
Because often we just want the quickest solution, and so we look for the person with the most competency, maybe the person that I could turn into one, the most help for me in the short term, but maybe that person is someone that doesn't have the character or the coaching skills to actually invest in others. And so it's a rather limited return, right? As opposed to going, who is it on my team that I could invest in and I could trust that this person can go and do the same thing?
So the fifth level of leadership is called the pinnacle level. The pinnacle level is just where you've literally done every single step in the leadership. You build those relationships, you produce with people and help them become stronger, and you've developed them to develop more people. And so people look at you, they like what you do, and they admire what you do for them, and they'll follow you. It's just like the ultimate level of respect. If you leave and go somewhere, these people are calling you, asking you where you are. Are there any openings? I want to come. I want to work with you. This is what I trust you, and I love what you can do for me.
In all research that we hear over and over and over, people don't leave jobs, they leave leaders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Super true. Can leadership be taught, or is it an innate trait?
I think it can be taught. I think some people have more of an knack for it, but I think that it's something, if you're willing to put the effort in and energy and how to grow yourself, that you can be taught how to lead.
I see it like a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you use it, the more you practice it, the more you read, the more you invest in yourself, the bigger your leadership muscle gets, the stronger you get and become as a leader.
I agree with you, Faith. I think it's virtually all learned. I think that, there's some of the external aspects of the typical leader that we overvalue.
Charismatic.
Yeah, that we overvalue and go, well, that person's comfortable talking in front of others or whatever. But effective leaders are the things that we've talked about. They're more about character. And if you believe that, your character is something that you cultivate through your thoughts, your words, your actions, that quote? Yes or no?
No.
Be careful with your thoughts, for they become your words. Be careful with your words, for they become your actions. Be careful with your actions, for they become your habits. Careful with your habits, but they become your character.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
And I think that, as Faith is saying, I think that the more that we cultivate that and work and develop that inner person, our character, who we are, the more effectively we're able to lead.